Hi friends, I'm enjoying floor time today. This is my sloth Shelby. Um, in the trans communities that I move in, it is convention to refer to someone as their gender historically. So when you would talk about me and when I talk about me, I would talk about myself as a girl, growing up as a little girl. You know, a year ago I was doing woman things. Been a woman in STEM since I learned how to use a computer, I suppose. Um, and that seems like a convention it's worth unpacking and talking about because, for a start, it's in the communities I move in. Trans people are a myriad, there's no universal rule. Um, but also because it's not a universal experience, even in the world that I live in. There are some people who don't think of themselves as having always been essentially their gender. Um, and I know that in these videos, I often talk about myself as when I was a guy, or when I was a dude, when I was doing guy things. Um, because it's a little bit easier to do that than, like, mentally, I still conceptualize the before crack, Nix BC, as guy Nix, which is double strange because there were 4 years where I was non-binary, and so really, if you'd called me a guy, if you'd called me a guy back then, I would have been a bit like, it's not really what's going on here, and it wasn't what was going on there. And I don't say it to discount my experiences. And those 4 years, my gender was very important to me. Frankly, it was a bit of a life raft. I think if I tried to live as a cis guy, that would have caused me quite a bit of distress. Might have got me here a bit quicker, but might not have got me anywhere at all, to be fair. But I've been thinking about it because I've realized there are a few things that I'm scared to do that I want to do, that I enjoyed doing as a guy. I think maybe one of the more salient ones is exercising, going to the gym. If you watch the early videos on my channel, I'm really gym crazy. And for about a month, I stopped going altogether, in part because of the arrest, but also because now this is the prevailing worry, is that if I do things that I enjoyed as a guy, that I'll do them in a guy way, and that by doing I'll sort of embody this masculinity that I don't associate with. And it's not just about the gym. Frankly, it's about everything. It's this clawing desire to completely restructure my identity so I don't have to walk any of the same paths I walked as a man or as a woman who didn't know she was a woman. And that's why the historic accountability, because I have gone back. I think it is destructive to try and completely change all the paths you've walked down, even if it is a bit of a enticing idea. So now I am starting to go down for it. I'm going to the gym. I'm doing other more masculine activities that I enjoyed as a man. And what I'm finding, in hindsight and with community, is a realization and a revelation that I was kind of always doing them as a girl. Like, I go back and try them and I go, this doesn't feel like, even if I do associate with how I was doing it before, if I feel the same way, if I notice the same motivations, the same headspace, I was engaging with them in a feminine way before. Like, it's quite hard to explain specifically because of the esoteric and non-lockdown nature of gender, but I've always been a girl. And frankly, walking down the same paths I did while I was thinking I was a guy, it doesn't make me feel the level of dysphoria that I was worried it would. it makes me feel a little bit silly for not realizing sooner that I was walking girl paths anyway. And that's the historic trans. That's why, for me, I'm gonna keep talking about myself as when I was a guy, when I was a dude, because it's shorthand for when I didn't know I was a girl. And that's why I'm not even really differentiating my non-binary and cis life. When I didn't know I was a girl, when I didn't realize or accept that I was a girl, when I was a guy. Now I'm just Nyx. And that's on historic transness. But why even saying that I was always a girl? I always have been, I always will be. Well, you know, hands up, I was wrong about stuff before, but this feels right. And whoever I am, tomorrow, a year from now, 10 years from now, whenever YouTube gets shut down and I have to move these to, you know, whatever platform we're putting video diaries on in 2030, I'll be Nyx. Right. Good night, friends. I love you very much. I will talk to you tomorrow.